England have won the Euros. They've done it. The big question that we were asking since way before the tournament and all the way through it, could they retain the Euros? And they did. They did it right at the death on penalties against Spain in customarily dramatic fashion. And what a night it was for everyone in Basel. What a night it was for me and Ali watching in Covent Garden and celebrating in Trafalgar Square. Never mind football's coming home. Robin Cowan's coming home. She's got the first plane out of Zurich this morning, so she can't join us live on the pod. But Ali Maxwell is making his debut on the Lionesses edition. And of course, we've got Kathryn Batte from The Telegraph with us as well. Kathryn, how was it? How was it being there? How was it witnessing the scenes during the match and after? And what a night it must have been.
I mean, there's so many times during this tournament where we thought it was almost going to be impossible for them to win because it looked like they were going out so many times. And when Spain, went ahead, I just thought again, it was so stupid of me to think that's that, because once Spain went in front, I just thought it's going to be so hard to get back into the game. But you just can't write off this England team. It was, a brilliant cross from Chloe Kelly and a great header from Alessia Russo. And then they just had to defend for their lives. And it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, they were so resilient. They had to concentrate for not just the 90 minutes, but extra time as well. And then the penalty shootout, again, Hannah Hampton saving two. Chloe Kelly scoring the winning penalty. I can't think of any player that scored the winning goal twice at a major tournament for a country. I'm sure there probably is one, but I mean, Chloe Kelly, it's just the nerves of steel to score that penalty with the pressure. And then the scenes afterwards, it was just, I felt like I was witnessing something I'll probably never see again. It was quite a strange experience because how many people sort of see, an England team win 2 trophies, never mind just one. It's sort of waited, so much of our lives to see us win anything. And then suddenly, 3 finals in a row, 2 trophies. I just tried to take as much of it in as possible because, as I was saying kind of on the previous pod, it's the best part of the job to be at tournaments and to see England win 2 trophies. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Chloe Kelly, incredible situation for her. And we saw her in the press conference afterwards, referencing the people who doubted her, referencing the fact that I guess, she was out of the picture for her club not that long ago, joined Arsenal on deadline day, gets back into the England squad, doesn't become she's not a starter at this tournament, but comes off the bench, makes game-changing, game-winning impacts, and stepping up to take that 5th penalty. Ali, we were watching in the Hercules Pillars in Covent Garden, because when we turned up to watch Philomeni's, as we said we would do, we hadn't really looked at the sporting calendar for the weekend and hadn't realised that it was the GAA finals, the Irish Gaelic football finals. So that place was packed out, so we had to go down the road. But that proved in itself to be a good omen. We found a pub full of England fans, and those England fans all cheered. There was a sense of anticipation and I think a sense of comfort a little bit, I think, when we saw that Chloe Kelly was going to take the 5th penalty, as we knew she would. But when we had the opportunity to win that penalty shootout, you want it to be Chloe Kelly. Because we know she's big in those moments. But in her mind, I'm sure she still must have been thinking, I missed the penalty a few days ago. And as Robin said on commentary, you can't put the rebound in this time. But then she just absolutely smacks it in. I saw a stat on The Athletic that said it's been recorded as the fastest shot in the tournament. 100 kilometres an hour. She belted that one in from the penalty spot.
The keeper went the right way, so had it not been quite so powerful, there's every chance that that penalty shootout would have been extended. And a lot of penalties were missed in both of England's shootouts, and it's probably incredibly basic analysis, but it did strike me that Kelly's was one of the few where power was chosen over placement. And a lot of the penalties in both shootouts, the ones that we scored and missed, the ones that were scored and missed against us, it felt like very few players were going down the middle. We did see that first Spanish penalty taker clipped one down the middle and scored. So it was quite a basic... what's the word? It was quite a basic conundrum, right? Because most players were going for placement, but there was only one of two ways that they were going. And so if the keeper guessed right across both shootouts, we saw so many penalties saved like that. And Kelly was the one that broke the mould, broke the internet, broke Spanish hearts. You're so right about her missing the penalty just a few days before. But I just love how sport can kind of chuck up personalities like this that just transcend like logic. And in fact, the whole team kind of transcended logic throughout the tournament with the way that they progressed through, despite being up against it so many times. And I think tournament football, much more so than club football and league football, gives us these scenarios because you are able to defy logic for 3 or 4 matches and go all the way, and perhaps not over the course of a whole league campaign. And we get these characters like Chloe who just seem completely bulletproof because we see them provide so many big moments for us. And from the moment that she came on for Lauren James, who was injured in the first half, they were terrified of her whenever she got the ball. And at that point, our other players, I think, were looking for someone like that to provide that energy, and she absolutely did. And not just the energy, but the quality of the cross for the goal as well for Russo.
Hannah Hampton. We have to talk about her if we're talking about the penalty shootout, Kathryn. I mean, it's an incredible story, again, with her. She's been superb and, again, came to the fore when we needed her, because we did need her big time in this penalty shootout. And she comes out of this tournament as a huge star now.
There's a great moment when they're all celebrating at the end. Serina jumped into Hannah Hampton's arms. It was like something from kind of a film. It was brilliant. And like you say, I mean, there was so much kind of attention on Hannah, and she, for her to step up in this tournament, I actually think she should have been in with a shout of player for the tournament when they did the awards at the end, because I couldn't quite believe Aitana Bonmati won the award, not because she's had a bad tournament, and maybe I'm just judging her by incredible standards that she's got, but she wasn't really involved in the first couple of games. And I just don't think she's been Spain's best player throughout the tour. I think it's hard to pick a player of the tournament, but they do usually give it to a player that's, from the winning team. And maybe it was difficult to choose one from England, and it felt a little bit lazy that they've not considered the goalkeeper. It sort of screamed a little bit of kind of, Aitana Bonmati, yeah, we'll just give it to her because she's good, sort of thing. From maybe summing up that UEFA haven't maybe watched potentially all of these games. So I think Hannah was robbed with that potentially. But we were saying throughout the game as well, her distribution, I know we said it earlier in the tournament, even in the game last night, it was so crucial in terms of trying to keep the ball and picking players out when she had it so it just didn't come straight back. She's just kind of taken England, I think, to another level with that. I don't think I've seen a goalkeeper in a women's game with distribution as good as hers for quite a long time. And obviously in the shootout, she made a couple of great saves too. And it's strange, we were saying, I'd never really considered Hannah Hampton to be a particularly brilliant penalty, shot stopper. And I remember the League Cup final, Chelsea-Arsenal, a couple of years ago. Emma Hayes was actually getting ready to take her off and bring on Anne-Katrin Berger. Now, it is Anne-Katrin Berger, so sort of almost fair enough.
Yeah.
But that kind of shows you that, I wasn't necessarily expecting her to be so good in a penalty shootout. But, in both of them, against Sweden and against Spain, she was excellent. And there's absolutely no way that England would have won this tournament without her.
That is completely spot on. You cannot argue with the fact that Hannah Hampton was the most impactful player for the team that won the tournament, and that was, the headlines were both penalty shootouts. Clearly, we wouldn't have won those based on the quality of our penalty taking. I think I'm right in saying we only scored 6 of 12 across 2 shootouts, which is just really poor. And in any team that has that sort of record across 2 shootouts would expect to lose at least one of them, if not both. And it's because of Hampton that we didn't. But it's not just the penalty shootouts. She made a save against Italy when we were 1-0 down. She was incredible for a period against Sweden when we were under pressure, particularly with such bravery coming out and claiming crosses and punching crosses away, which is really, when you think of a goalkeeper's skill set, shot stopping number one, these days ball playing ability probably number two, but like having that presence to come and claim crosses and release pressure on your defenders and deal with aerial threat basically probably number three. She showed all facets of that across the tournament, and every single time it was positive for us. And other more regulation saves within the game, but still ones that needed to be made. And as Kathryn said, like with her passing, there are times in the games, when you watch your team, whoever your club team is, and the ball gets recycled and it ends up back at the keeper, most people will moan because like it feels like a defensive tactic or boring or like back to square one. There were times where I was like, yeah, let's just pass it all the way back to Hannah, because every single time we do, she clips a pass over the head of the press, onto the foot or chest of a fullback, and then we play forward from there. And that early chance we had with Russo, the shot from the angle that was well saved, that came from Hampton. Basically didn't put a foot wrong, and those are like high difficulty passes as well, where if they go wrong, you give away goals, you cause yourself problems, particularly against a high pressing team like Spain. Absolutely impeccable on so many levels, and on top of it all, just smiling throughout the whole tournament, which I absolutely loved. I saw a journo had tweeted some pictures of the team getting on the team bus out the hotel before the game, and every single player pictured had proper like serious game face on, headphones on, ignoring the fans, job to be done. And Hannah just had the biggest grin on her face walking onto the bus, like still absolutely loving the fact that she's now this superstar, and she absolutely deserves it.
I think another player who quite rightly has been getting a lot of attention in the wake of this triumph is Lucy Bronze, who has had a good tournament, but definitely had some moments in the moments when England was struggling where it looked like she was struggling as well. And I'm even in the first game we were talking about her sort of just gently wondering whether she was maybe coming towards the end of her career, end of her peak. Why doesn't she look quite as mobile or as good as we thought she would have been? And then turns out she'd been playing the whole tournament with a broken leg. So, I mean, fair enough. Incredible from her to drop that at the end of the tournament just after you've won it, and also had to go off yesterday as well with an injury on the other leg, which looked like quite a bad knee injury. So we'll wait and see what that means for her going forward. But there was a heavy strapping on that during the celebrations. But just typified her spirit and her determination to do everything she can for this team. She's been such a massive part of this team for a long time now as well. But just looking at some of her numbers on FOTMob, 10 duels won, which was the most of any England player. 4 out of 4 aerial duels won, 2 out of 3 tackles won. I mean, all across the defence yesterday with Carter, Williamson, Greenwood. The numbers are really good in terms of clearances, duels, tackles. Like they were putting their bodies on the line through periods of heavy Spanish possession and pressure. But Lucy Bronze, I mean, just Kathryn, what an effort that from her, incredible stuff.
Yeah, when we saw the quotes of that, and we were in the press conference room, obviously she'd done the interview with BBC, and we were just like, what? She played the whole tournament with a fractured tibia. And then we sort of thought, well, do you know what? That actually sounds very much like Lucy Bronze. It sounds exactly like something she would do. I'd love to know what Chelsea think. I've heard, how they obviously the international clubs, they're sort of like, you've got to keep in touch with, the club teams throughout the tournament. I was just imagining Sarina just screening every call from Sonia Bonpastor. So I'll answer her later. Lucy Bronze, it just, when she says she'll do anything to play for England and she'll give everything, she clearly means it. I think we saw that in the final when she picked up that knee injury, and she was clearly in a lot of pain, and she still carried on for a bit. We saw Niamh Charles waiting to come on, and then suddenly Charles had her bib back on, and I thought, is she gonna carry on? Like, I don't think she can, but that's how much she wants to stay on the pitch. And in the end, I think she had to be sort of forced off, and it reminded me of Serina Wiegman had said after the Sweden game that you almost need to, the only way you can get Lucy Bronze off a pitch is in a wheelchair. And I feel like we nearly got to that point last night. And clearly that's what she meant, because obviously they'd known throughout the whole tournament, and they've done very well to kind of keep quiet from everyone that she'd been playing with this injury and nobody knew. which also says a lot about her. I think she'd done it it sounded like she'd done it in the Portugal Nations League game. And again, like, no one would have known that she did it in that game. There was not kind of like a moment where that sort of in the memory of Lucy Bronze going down with an injury. And it was funny, Brett Wiegman coming into the press conference yesterday and saying, oh yeah, she's had some issues with her tibia. It's like, fractured tibia, Serina. I think some issues is playing it down slightly. But I mean, she will go down as the greatest England player of all time, I think. And not to start the campaign, but I wouldn't be surprised if she was in line for a damehood along with the honorary one Sarina is seemingly going to get, because I think she just typifies everything about this England team.
Probably a chat for another day, but she was already being asked in the mix zone last night. I've seen a few clips of her being asked about Brazil World Cup. You're going to be in the World Cup. Could you even make the next Euros? Which might be a stretch for that one, but with her levels of determination and spirit, I don't think you should rule anything out at this stage. I think we can say how proud we are of Robin as well, not just the Lionesses, but Robin calling that game live on the BBC last night, nailed it, as she always does. What a moment for her as well. What an amazing tournament it's been, and you felt like England were always gonna come through. But Ali, we were watching that game, and there were moments where we were worried. Because even though Spain, if you look at the stats on FOTMob, they had 4 big chances, took one of them. But Hampton, looking back at the highlights, she did have to make a couple of saves. There was that one in the first half from the angle where she sort of stood up really big and it hit her chest. There was another one, I think, towards the end, either in extra time or towards the end of the second half, where she sort of punched one over the bar from Pina, I think. But it's not so much about the chances, it was more about the fact that, especially in that first half, after Spain had scored and had scored a really good goal, they were on top. They were playing really good football and they were looking much the better team. Yeah,
for sure, yeah. Clearly a superior team in many aspects, particularly when it comes to just settled possession and patterns in the final third. And they just found a weakness, didn't they, after about 20-25 minutes, because England had started pretty well and we'd had a couple of opportunities, that Russo chance, the Hemp one saved at the near post, another opportunity where we had a 3-on-2 and Hemp just couldn't quite find the angle out to James, and when she did, she was offside and it didn't quite, just kind of slightly bungled it. And then they found our weakness, right? And it was this, Spain would have 3 or 4 players just in that right-hand side channel, and they were just playing triangles and finding the time to get the ball down to the byline. And, that just worked really well for them for about 25 minutes, and it didn't really feel like we had much of a clue how to stop it. So it's obviously where the goal came from, a couple of other half chances. What we did really well, and, credit to Carter and to Williamson especially for this, was defend the central areas of our penalty box, which meant that until their sub had that chance inside the 6-yard box, which was flashed across and she tried to backheel it and just didn't get any connection. Until that chance, I think it's correct to say that they didn't create anything absolutely massive apart from the goal that they scored in terms of clear sight of goal, between the posts, short range. Most of their efforts were either, from kind of the edge of the box with bodies between the person taking the shot and the goal. Didn't really trouble Hampton with any of those, or we managed to shift them into the wide areas of the box, which narrows the angle and allows Hampton to make the save. And so, really proud of the defensive solidity, and clearly Carter deserves huge credit for coming back into the team, having missed the semi-final, and putting in a defensive display like that. And also, given how good Spain are at winning the ball high up in the pitch, possessions won in the final third, they were top in the Euros by miles. We avoided any issues like we had in the early parts of the game against Sweden in terms of giving them opportunities by us turning the ball over. And again, that's credit to Carter and Williamson and Greenwood and Bronze and Hampton and Walsh for not making any mistakes on that front. So the defensive resilience is something to be massively, massively proud of. Tactically, I think we did really well. I don't think Wiegman could have done anything better, because we did create, certainly to start with, a few opportunities as well, even if, let's be honest, for large portions of the game it was about us defending, and we did that.
I think we have to talk about Jess Carter. As you say, all the defenders performed really well, but obviously it was, as she said herself, a difficult situation coming back into this team, having been left out of the last game. And it was quite, I was impressed with the way she talked about it. She was quite honest from her, saying how nervous she was, and she didn't think, there was moments of self-doubt, let's say, but thanking all of her teammates and the fans and everyone she's had support from. But to put in that level of performance, I mean, it was definitely her best performance of the tournament. I mean, she just made no mistakes, cleared everything, and it was great to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, her interview after the game, where she was really kind of brutally honest about how she didn't think she'd played particularly well at this tournament, and how she was actually really, for the first time in her life, scared to play when she woke up in the morning. And then kind of got the belief when she saw the support she had from her teammates and the rest of the staff. I mean, it just shows her incredible character, and the performance that's the performance that we knew Jess Carter had within her, because when she started that tournament and she moved to centre-back, I was quite content because I knew how good she can be, and that's her position. When she was playing at left-back, I did feel like that was maybe a bit of a weakness, but it has been a problem for a long time. But when she was playing at centre-back, I knew that, she could definitely do a job. And then for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because she's not quite got that partnership with Leah Williamson sorted, because they've not played a lot of games together, and whether that just took a little bit of time. But against Spain, both of them, neither of them have had the best tournaments, but in that game they were absolutely sensational. I mean, I lost count of the amount of blocks Carter made in that second half. It just felt like they were so determined not to let Spain score after they'd come back in, they'd equalised. And she deserves just such huge credit for that performance, and so many things in a final. And I was so glad to see her getting the attention, because it's so often it's going to be Chloe Kelly and it's going to be Hannah Hampton and Lucy Bronze playing with a fractured tibia. But I think people recognised Carter's performance and everything that had happened around it and in the build-up to it. And there's so many stories from this England team, but I think Carter is one that sort of stands out, and it was just so nice to see her have that moment.
Yeah, it's nice to see in the wake of these big achievements, when you've got the mass celebrations on the pitch, and the trophy's been lifted, the medals have been given out, and the players are going over to the supporters, and they're with their families and they're with the fans. It's sort of you get a little moment where sort of all of the players, even the ones, some of them haven't even played and got on the pitch, they have a moment where they get thrust and pushed to the fore, and everyone gives them their moment. And there was definitely plenty of those, but it was nice to see the look on Carter's face when she had that moment, and she was being given the recognition that she clearly deserves.
It's such a great group in terms of personality, isn't it? Both as individual, but then the way they all come together. Just, you get the sense that there's a lot of love, that they have a lot of fun, and it's really great the way that they've kind of pass that on to everyone watching. They've just been so fun, this team, in terms of characters and personalities, but also as a team to watch. I just find watching the Lionesses really fun. Just the way that we play, I think, is genuinely like a joy to watch. We talked about the quality of Hampton's passing, Williamson as well. If you look at the FOTMob stats for the tournament as a whole, one thing stands out massively, and that is Leah Williamson accurate long passes per 90, 8.7, and the next most in the tournament is Diana Gomez of Portugal with 5.7. So Williamson's passing in terms of getting the ball forward into our dangerous wide players, into Russo, and getting Toon close to her and playing off her, it's an exciting style to watch, because we don't mess around with it that much, which is sometimes a knock on the men's senior team. I just really like watching them play, and the whole tournament watching them play has been an absolute joy.
I want to mention Russo, because it's hard to fight for attention and headlines in this team because there are so many stories. But I mean, we've got to give credit to Russo, because she hasn't had an amazing tournament, hasn't scored loads of goals, but she's done what she does, and she's made those runs in behind. She's been full of energy. She has got a few assists. She has got a few goals. But more crucially, she scored the goal that got us back into this match. When the time came, another brilliant cross from Chloe Kelly, but a fantastic header. Perfectly timed leap, perfectly timed execution from Russo. A brilliant header and a great moment for her.
It is a funny story as well. Before the 2023 World Cup, she was talking about one of her old coaches in America, and you might have to bleep out part of this quote, but he'd apparently told her when she was coming through at college level that she couldn't head for shit. And we've been waiting to kind of reuse that quote ever since then, because she just hasn't really scored a header in that tournament. We were like, oh great, if Russo scores a header, we can like bring this quote back out. And then she didn't score a header. And then finally, a couple of years on, it felt a little bit relevant again, because as you say, it was just perfectly placed. And it was a great stat. I think there hadn't been a header scored in a women's Euros or World Cup final since 2011. And then we had two in one game. So, I mean, yeah, it was perfectly timed. It was a great cross from Chloe Kelly. You could see kind of that understanding they've got from playing together at Arsenal. And it was just, it felt like it had come out of nowhere, even though it hadn't. I think England were a lot better in the second half. But just because I think we were expecting the goal, it sort of just, it felt like, oh, they've scored. How have they done that? But yeah, it's clearly Russo's been working on the old heading for a little bit of time.
Last time out, you forecasted that if England were to win this game and she were to play a starring role in it, she might win the Ballon d'Or. You think that's still going to happen?
I mean, she'll be in with a shout. When Mariona Caldente scored, I thought, that's it. She's got the Ballon d'Or. See you later. And then she missed her penalty, and then obviously England won. But I don't know now, because Bon Matty's won Player of the Tournament, although obviously that's mainly kind of down to UEFA. I don't know if Russo will win it, but I think she's definitely going to be in with a strong shout, just because of the fact she's won the Champions League and the Euros and sort of been a key player for both. I mean, Chloe Kelly will probably be up there as well, having even not played half of a season, just because of the fact that she's played a key role in both teams. As much as she's a contender for Sports Personality of the Year, she'll probably have a look in that as well. I still think Mariona will probably be up there, but yeah, Russo is definitely in with a shout of winning that now.
Could be a Lionesses top 3 in Spotty this year, I think. I mean, yeah, the look on Bon Matty's face when she had to go and pick up that award, there was a part of me that felt sorry for her in that situation. She did not want to be there, and you couldn't blame her. But just before she collected that award, they gave out the young player of the tournament. Michelle Adjemang, joyful little dance as she got the guard of honour from her teammates to go up to the podium to collect that award. And just another remarkable story that I don't think anyone could really have seen coming, that she would make the impact that she's made in this tournament. And she now goes out of it, and I'm sure it's not just going to be Robin Cowan waiting for shirts to drop on the doormat with Adjemang's name on the back. You're going to be seeing a lot of that. And she's a star. She's made a huge impact, and this is a big moment for her.
Yeah, icon. You know, we're spoilt for choice with individuals to just enjoy and love and celebrate, and it feels amazing. When it comes to Adjemang, I'm just really fascinated, Kathryn, by what happens next at club level, and whether you have any idea what happens next at club level, because part of the amazing story of the Euros is clearly that at club level, she is still pretty unproven, and she plays for a club with some of the best players in the world, challenging for minutes. So I'm kind of intrigued by what happens next with Michelle, and I must admit, a little nervous in some ways, because the profile is now so huge. That comes with expectation, and it's not always the case that things at club level will go as well. It's very difficult for them. She's not going to score a goal in every game, and expectations will be high, so that she's almost raised that level of expectation for herself, and potentially slightly ahead of time at club level. But there'll be plenty of eyes on her either way.
There will, and I think it almost helps that she's got Alessia Russo there with her, and I wonder whether Arsenal will have a look at if they can play with the two of them together, or whether it is just going to be one or the other. Because when Adjumang's come on for England, there's been I think in the Sweden game she played alongside her, and then in Italy and Spain Russo came off, and I actually felt like the change didn't really work in the Spain game. Partly because I don't think England changed the way they were playing, and it was the first time she'd come off the bench in a game that we weren't losing, and I think that we'd seen the best of her when we were basically playing chaos, what looked like to be chaos ball, and we weren't playing that against Spain. We were having to, do a lot of defending, and that we didn't really change our approach to attacking, and it felt like maybe the sub had come too early after we'd been obviously asking for Serina to make the subs earlier than she had been doing. But I think she's got a great manager at Arsenal in terms of Renee Slagers and how she's managed the players she's got there, and they've kind of raved about how, she's improved their game. Russo in particular, she's really brought on. She was having a really difficult start to last season and then finished as the top goal scorer. And I think a lot of that was down to, how Slagers managed to get the best out of her. And Chloe Kelly's, praised Slagers a lot for, bringing her back to her best level. So I think she's got a good team around her. And I'm sure Arsenal will be looking at what the plan is for her. And I doubt she'll go out on loan, because I think they'll just want to keep her around and develop her and try and give her as much opportunity as possible. But it's weird, because you'd expect her to now keep her England place, but naturally she's going to have to play games to do that. And it's, as you said, it's obviously not going to be straightforward. So I imagine Arsenal and England will probably have a lot of communication about what's the best plan for her and how they can develop her going forward.
Now, there's one individual that we haven't mentioned yet and we haven't talked about properly yet, and that is, of course, Serina Wiegman. Dame Sarina. Whether she gets the honorary knighthood or not, that's what we're calling her from now on. But a remarkable achievement from her to have won the tournament 3 times in a row, obviously winning it with the Netherlands before England. But to win it back to back with England, and just dealing with the whole situation with such sort of class, but in the big moments, like after the Sweden game, but then after this final, also just letting herself go a little bit, letting herself enjoy the moment, and you could see how much she was enjoying dancing with all the players, Kathryn at the end there when Sweet Caroline was on and all the songs were on, and it was, a fantastic moment to see that release of what must have been a lot of pressure for her going into this tournament, trying to live up to her own weight of expectation. But she now stands as, one of the greatest of all time, right? If not the, amazing stuff.
Build the statue. I think they are. I think they did say they were meant to be building a statue of the team in some way from 2022. They're probably going to have to amend that now and sort of work in how they feature this tournament. But I mean, it's just ridiculous that she's won 3 of these European trophies in a row. As you said, 2 with England, 1 with the Netherlands, and it's a remarkable record. And she was questioned at times in this tournament. When they lost the opening game against France, and they went into that must-win game with the Netherlands. It was, if they had lost that, they'd have been, the talk would have been so much different. But they've come through, and I think that the fact that she's so calm, that kind of comes through to her players. And not to give you another word to bleep out, but Beth Mead gave a brilliant quote in the mix zone yesterday to say that Serina's been finding different ways to motivate the players. And she said ahead of the final, she had a toiletry bag that said, "Bitches get shit done," which I thought was brilliant. And also quite un-Serina, to be honest. We don't really see her come out with anything like that in a press conference. But the players have kind of referenced her speeches before games and how important they've been. And I think the things maybe we don't see sometimes are the things that are most important. And seeing her have a little dance on I've never seen her react like that. Even when she won it in 2022, she sort of ran onto the pitch a bit, and I think she was maybe a bit more emotional then. And this time it was just pure joy, and she was conducting the crowd. It was brilliant. And she said she was going to have another bit of a dance later and a couple of drinks, but not probably as much as what the players will consume.
Yeah, definitely my favourite Dutch person of all time, Serina Wiegman. she's amazing. Like the influence that she has on the team is so clear, and when you consider how many star players England have, it's unbelievably impressive to be able to manage a squad like that, with established players, particularly some of the established players who she had to make some tough choices about before the tournament, to bring in emerging young players and to give them a platform, to give them the best chance to succeed in those difficult early appearances for England, which it feels like she's done really well, to get the most out of star players, which she clearly has done, and we've got so many of them, as discussed. Like, all of this stuff, it's made to look quite easy by Wiegman and by other managers who achieve it, but the history of international football tells us that international football management is really difficult to get everything to line up like that. It's really difficult to manage squads in high pressure situations. It's difficult to manage them and motivate them and keep everyone happy and on the same page, and it's difficult to get the tactics right, because if you get the tactics wrong, you go out in the knockout stages, you don't get a second chance. So on every single level, she has proven herself, and already had, but even more so to just be one of the greats. And we have to be very thankful to her, Dave and Kathryn, and I know Robin absolutely has adored her for a long time, because it's just really great to support a national team that's winning. And, you know, from the moment I left home yesterday and travelled into town, I saw so many people of all ages and genders wearing England shirts, heading somewhere to watch the game, to watch it together with other England fans. You know, this major tournament football brings people together in a way that very few other things can do. And, you know, we saw that, Dave, probably most strongly after the game, where we went straight to Trafalgar Square. We wondered about getting in the fountain. We decided actually to not get in it. But then over the course of the next hour or two, England fans flocked to Trafalgar Square to commune with other England fans and celebrate what we'd seen. And a couple of people did get into the fountain, and credit to them, fair play. But mostly we sat at the base of Nelson's Column with a growing group of England fans who just wanted to be there and enjoy supporting the Lionesses, who'd given us another triumph.
Robin will be proud of me and you, Ali, because there was a moment where some chants. No one had like a speaker or anything, so we had to sort of get the chants going ourselves. And there was a bit of Sweet Caroline. There's a couple of renditions of Three Lions, one of which we got everyone singing from the verse, from the start of the song, not just the chorus. But then, as a perfect moment of silence arrived, me and he looked at each other and we went, "Come on, let's do the Sarina song." And we got everyone going. A couple of rounds of that one, which was very enjoyable. But it was a great atmosphere, and it did sort of slowly build. When we first got there, we were looking at each other going, "Oh, there's no one here. There's like a few buskers and some tourists and a few pigeons, but where are all the fans?" But then slowly but surely, we started to see people turning up with England kits on, with flags.
It just turns out we left the pub 1 point too early, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quite a lot of the people that actually were in the pub with us, they turned up as well. And you know, it was just those moments, and I'm sure there was plenty of it out in Switzerland last night, Kathryn, as well. Those moments of togetherness, of pure joy, and being able to just celebrate a remarkable achievement. I mean, it is what it's all about. It's fantastic, and we talked a lot about the players, rightfully so, and Sarina. But the support, and Sarina was right to call that out at the end as well. The support has been fantastic. It was great to see how many fans were at that game, how many fans were at the Euros as a whole. It was 650,000 across the tournament as a whole. They put up on the big screen last night. But brilliant support. I don't know if you saw any of the scenes over in Switzerland last night.
I saw a few. I saw Box Park celebrating the goal. That's always where the TV cameras seem to go, isn't it? When England are in a final or a big game. I've seen snippets, but I think I'm going to have a little scroll through social media as I look to get my train back to Zurich for my flight home. But yeah, I think it's just seeing all the different England celebrations. There's one where they're coming back into the hotel. They obviously went back to Zurich last night to have their team celebration. And there's a little bit of talk about the dog Reggie, who belongs to their barista. And they kind of all, it's like an unofficial emotional support dog. And they've all kind of said like, oh, he's been like, key part of the squad. And they coming into the hotel, and Hannah Hampton's just holding him, and the dog's just like looking around as if like, I don't know what's going on, but sure, that's fine. He looks like he's having a great time. So that was brilliant. And Kiara Keating, who I think is just a player of pure vibes. At every point in this tournament, whenever I looked at her, she was just looked like she was having the time of her life. And she was sort of going in with sort of special sunglasses with her initials on. So I think I'll have to have a look through all the different celebration videos, later on.
The celebrations are not over yet. There will be a parade and a massive celebration at Buckingham Palace on Tuesday lunchtime, 12:30. I think that ends on Tuesday lunchtime. So if you can, sneak away from work. If you can take the day off, have a half day, get yourself down to Buckingham Palace and join in the celebrations with the Lionesses. I'm sure that'll be a hell of a moment. But there's one thing left for us to do before we sign off for this tournament, and that is have a final look at the FOTMOB Predictions League. And look, the only real reason we got you on today, Ali, was to let you rejoice in your own triumph. And you have run out the winner. I managed to climb up to 4th in the end, a respectable 4th place finish for me. But yeah, you did win it. Kathryn and Robin, I think, look, you had other priorities. You had actual work to do for this tournament, so you can be forgiven for your mid-table mediocrity. But Ali, you've won it. You've won the Predictions League. Well done. This is good timing, actually, because it appears that, from what I can hear, your young baby is not enjoying the Lionesses' victory and is having a bit of a time of it. So we'll let you crack on, and you can perhaps save your victory speech for another day. But massive thanks to FOTMOB for supporting the England pod throughout this Euro 2025. It's been great fun to work with them and have them on board. Still there for you to download the FOTMOB app and keep following the football through them as we head into the new season. But a massive thanks to Robin Cowan, and a massive well done to her for her performance throughout the tournament, not just on this pod, but on the BBC all the way through. And a big thanks to you, Kathryn. It's been fantastic to have you on board throughout this tournament, and we'll go again soon, I'm sure. But again, thanks to you.
It's been brilliant to kind of be a part of and chat to you guys, and it's get me through the tough kind of workload at the tournament. It's always been good to kind of chat to you guys and analyse everything. So here's to Brazil in 2027, as King Charles said. Bring that home.
Absolutely, yes. No, I mean, I feel a bit of a fraud having jumped on, but I think winning the Predictions League gave me that right. But also just wanted to come on to say that, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone who's listened throughout the tournament, just a massive thanks to all three of you, because listening to you guys with the previews, with the recaps, has really made the following of this team even better. And to have Robin, whose commentary is just so iconic, but who comes on here and is so modest and humble and never wants to talk about the fact that she's literally the lead commentator for the BBC for another Lionesses triumph, is so cool. To have Kathryn, who, I mean, your work from way before the tournament, but all the way through it. Like, if Robin is describing the story of the Lionesses, you've been telling the stories as well throughout. And God, I have so much respect for the work that you do, because, having to, during what is such a busy tournament, come up with interesting pieces and stories on deadlines all the time must be exhausting, but you've done it so well. So thank you. And Dave, I don't need to gush over you, but I have loved your contributions to the Lionesses edition. It's been such a pleasure to enjoy the England pod, the Lionesses edition. And yeah, we will go again for many more years and hopefully many more victories.
Thanks finally to every single person that's listened throughout the tournament. The Lionesses edition will continue long into the future, and yes, we're already looking ahead to Brazil 2027. Bring it on. Come on, England.